Hello and welcome to LingualNet's Superlearner Fluency course. This course is designed to help you become more confident and more smooth in your ability speak, to speak in conversations or to speak in interviews or to speak in presentations. So developing your fluency involves steady practice. It involves having the right strategies. It involves having a healthy mindset. And it also involves having good study habits and good practice sessions. So in each practice session in this course, we try to help you to focus on one set of strategies or one set of skills that are really going to help you improve your spoken English. My name is Dr. Michael Rost, and in my career, I've studied a lot of language learning situations, and I've done a lot of research in the area of language learning. And I've come up with some secrets that successful language learners use. And I call these successful language learners the super learners. So in this course, I'm trying to teach you the same secrets so that you can become a super learner and make fast and permanent progress in your spoken language. Each module in the course focuses on one topic. In this module, we're going to focus on the topic of education, and we're going to listen to 3 students answer 5 questions about education, their personal experiences and experiences of the education system in their native countries. And so we're going to hear them discuss on various levels, personal levels and more abstract or theoretical levels. So I'd like you to listen to these 3 interviews. We'll start with our first student, Tan. And if you're ready, let's get started. What is education like for a typical person in your country?
That's a very important question. Thank you for asking. Um, well, Vietnamese governments really put a stress on the education systems. So we have our standard system goes like kindergarten, and then you go to elementary school, and then middle school for 4 years, elementary school for 5 years, and then you go to high school for 3 years. And after that, you will have to pass a national test just to finish the K-12. So you have a diploma saying you finished K-12, and then you have to have another test to get into the university that you want. So the high school is very important. When you're in high school, it's very important. We have what's called a trường trung học phổ thông chuyên, right? So what that means is it's very intense and it's very specialized. Like if you're really smart, like Harvard, right? Or Stanford, you're really smart, you get into there, you study with other smart kids, and they putting more and more information in your brains, and you have to study days and nights. I'm talking days and nights. So it's really tough. So overall in my country, I would give it a rate about 7. It's a good education system, but I think they need to change the way they approach it. They just approach it in one way, which is here's information, here's your brain. Okay, so we want to do it differently because each brain functions differently.
What is one good memory you have about your education?
Oh, okay. I wanted to share with you the one memories that I never forget. So when I was in 12th grade, I was selected to be a leader of the class. In Vietnamese, we call it lớp trưởng, right? So being a leader, you have to do your homework right, help your classmates to move up, to get better. But I didn't fulfill my role. So I was kind of rebellious at the time. And one point it gets so out of hand that the school asked my parents to come. And I only able to talk about it to my mom. So she came to school and she's crying. She act like I'm very innocent. Like I was not the person that the school described me. So the teacher feel like, oh, okay. He feel bad. So he's like, okay, we're just gonna just not let her do the leadership, but just so you know, blah blah blah. And my mom was like, okay, I will talk to her again and this and that. But I never changed. I'm very proud of that, and my whole class is they're proud of me, and the whole like 12th grade. Like we have a lot of 12th grade class, right? It go from 12A1 to 12A13, and the whole thing they know about my story. I was popular.
What makes a good student, in your opinion?
That's an interesting question because people think good student mean getting good grades, and I was in one of the student who getting good straight A's, right? So from my perspective, a good student is someone who can find a way to learn about themselves. So so how do you get to know yourself better? That's in my opinions. Instead of just go to school, write down your note, remember your note, get the test, get the A. I don't think that's the sole purpose of educating. So if you're a student, while getting your straight A's, learn about yourself too. If you don't develop some self-knowledge, you might choose a major that doesn't really fit you and fit the person you are, and maybe not able to find your passions in life. So yeah, so I will say that getting straight A is good, but it's half of the problem. The other half is to try to figure out who you are.
Do you think computers or robots will one day replace teachers in the classroom?
No. So I asked that question to one of my, they said a people like one of my hire designer. I asked him, will computer technology change the way we design? And he say no. He explained. So and I agree with him. And I would say the same thing about teachers. I think computer technologies it will help teachers. It's a tools for people to use. And it needs a human to operate it. So no matter how you choose to operate it, you coding it, you type in some words, or you make it prettier, a design in a design way, it still need a human hand on it, right? So I don't think that any technologies or computers will replace human beings.
What is the difference between the way children learn and the way adults learn?
Children and adults. So in a nutshell, make it short, I don't think children care about other people think. I work with kids, and whenever I ask a question, they just answer. They don't even think, what my friend's thinking. No, they just raise their hand and answer. Whereas the teenagers, they don't talk much. They say, oh, okay, I agree with them. I agree with her. So it's like they don't really want to express their opinions. And as they grow older and become adults, that's the behavior that they will kind of lean toward. So I think for children, they're not afraid to say something, but for adults, we think a lot of what we have to say.
Okay, that was our first interview with our first student. How was that? Was it interesting for you? What did you find interesting or meaningful or memorable about the interview with Tan? After you listen to the interview one time, I'd like you to open up your workbook and answer the questions which explore the meaning of the interview, the ideas that she raises, and also allows you to examine some of the language, the vocabulary, and the grammar structures that come up in the conversation. In addition to doing the workbook exercises, I'd like you to try to answer the questions yourself, the same 5 questions that Tan answered. And when you listen again, I'd like you to consider the communication strategies that she uses. There are three that I'd like to point out. The first is to take a step back and look at the big picture. So, for example, on a few occasions, Tan will say something like, "That's an interesting question. Thank you for asking that question. That's a really important question." She takes a step back and thinks about what is the overall meaning of the question and why are you asking me that question? So that is an important communication strategy. It's part of think time, which means use time to think about what you want to say. But first, take a step back and think about the big picture. Think about why this question is important, or why this question is interesting, or why this question is being asked. The second communication strategy I'd like you to consider that comes up in Tan's interview is organize your answer before you respond. Organize your answer before you begin to speak. Take time to think about how you're going to answer the question. This is particularly important if you are going to use a kind of personal story. You notice that a couple of times Tan gives personal anecdotes or short stories or short incidents from her past. And you can tell she gets very excited, and sometimes it's hard for her to organize her responses. That's okay. You're using your passion and your excitement to answer the question. But one thing you can do as a speaker is to rehearse. If you're going to tell the same story again and again at some point in the future, it's a good idea to practice telling the story so that you can tell it in a more fluid and more organized way. The third strategy I'd like you to think about when you listen to Tan's interview is explain unfamiliar terms or unfamiliar ideas. So, for example, when Tan is talking about the education system in her home country, Vietnam, she uses some Vietnamese terms. But as soon as she uses them, she then explains them in English, what they mean or why they're important or why they are significant to her. So always remember to confirm that your listener understands what you mean. This is, if you use an unfamiliar term or a term from your native language, that's perfectly fine. Then, after you do so, please be sure to explain it and confirm that the listener understands what you mean. So, after you have listened to Tan's interview twice, I'd like you to answer the same 5 questions that Tan has answered. Record your answers onto a recording device and post them to the course website. And you can get some response about your ideas from other students in the course and also from teachers. All right, good work, and we will see you in the next episode.